Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hard Knocks Fighting TV. I'm Ryan Ballantyne alongside Ari Tobe, the president and CEO of the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, and some of the best MMA in the world is about to hit your screen. Stay tuned. Coming up, we've got a fight between Phil Towler and Devin Smith, a 205-pound championship bout. Ari, both of these guys, tenacious fighters.
I can't wait to see this fight. It's going to be really, really good. Phil Towler, I think, is going to try and take Devin Smith down. And if you look at Devin Smith and you look at his past fights, he's done really well against strikers. He's done well against some grappling jiu-jitsu guys. Hasn't really faced a wrestler. I want to see whether Phil Towler can take Devin Smith down. I think if he does, he grounds and pounds him and he wins. Otherwise, Devin Smith wins.
The 205-pound amateur strap up for grabs as Devin Smith takes on Phil Towler.
This school of Hard Knocks fight is an amateur title fight in the 205-pound division and is brought to you by Big 4 Motors. And now, let's meet the fighters.
Coming up next, the fight in the light heavyweight division for the title. We see Phil Towler coming down to the cage first as the challenger. He is the challenger for the 205-pound title after a very impressive performance the last time we saw him fighting a very tough opponent and dominating him.
Yeah, Phil Towler ran that fight from pillar to post, and we have not put easy opponents against Phil Towler. He's fight really good, strong guys, and he is ready and deserving of this fight and challenge against the champion Devin Smith. But this is going to be an outstanding fight. Both these guys have severe amounts of power. Both these guys have excellent technique, good gas. This is going to be an exciting fight.
A purple belt in jiu-jitsu is Phil Towler. Expects to take this fight to the ground. The Calgary rules here may play to his advantage with his ground game because he's got advanced skills in that area, and Devin Smith going to be unable to punch the head of a down opponent. We saw that's how he knocked out Felix Jimenez, was on the ground. That's where Devin Smith does the most of his damage with his fists, is when he gets into that ground and pound area and just lays guys out. So we'll see whether or not Phil Towler decides to take this one down.
You and I both thought over in Estevan that he was being fed to a hometown guy in Wade Baldwin. Not in that it was a mismatch, but Wade Baldwin looked like a badass, for lack of a better term, and he got dropped. So we are going to see a very, very good fight coming up.
Phil Towler offered a trot around the cage, says, nope, I'll just wait here for Mr. Smith.
And his opponent.
Now it's time for the champ to come down to the cage. You can see him wearing his 205-pound belt as he makes his way down. Also, currently the holder of our heavyweight title. Decided to leave that one in the dressing room, which is odd for Devin. Weird to see him without both title belts. And says that he cuts weight by lifting his title belts.
One in each hand.
One in each hand, and you can see he's got the 205 title there, and that is what is up for grabs tonight. But again, you mentioned, thought he was being fed the sacrificial lamb and knocked Wade Baldwin out in 8 seconds. Stepped in against Felix Jimenez and repeated the feat, knocking him out in a minute and a half. Took on Derek Daku, finished him in the second round via guillotine choke, and really has had not much trouble in the Hard Knocks cage. Trains out of Prestige Worldwide in La Ronge, Saskatchewan. And here's Jeremy with the tail of the tape.
Just 7 years difference there, Phil Towler, but you look at the height difference, 5 inches, and Devin Smith uses all of that reach advantage in all of his fights. He's been using that reach and just punishing people in the standing. I talked to Devin Smith, I talked to his camp, and they said for them, their only concern is if Phil Towler can find a way to take Devin Smith to the ground. If that is the case, they know that they're at a distinct disadvantage, but don't look at past Devin Smith. He has been on the ground before, and he gets up almost immediately, does Mr. Boomtruck, who appears to be all business, going to his corner and just saying, I'm ready to go.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the blue corner for Build 360, he's 2-0 as an amateur, 32 years old, and stands 5 feet, 9 inches tall. He weighed in at 204 1/2 pounds. Fighting as an independent from Calgary, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Phil the Albino Rhino Towler. And in the red corner for Pete the Plumber, the superhero of plumbing. He's 6'2" as an amateur, 25 years old, and stands 6 feet, 3 inches tall. He weighed in at 205 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of Prestige Worldwide from L'Orange, please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Devin Mr. Boom Truck Smith. This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Andy Social.
All right, gentlemen, this is a championship fight. Obey my commands at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Fight hard, fight fair. I'm going to touch gloves now. Step back, get ready to fight.
So our light heavyweight title is up for grabs as Devin Smith and Phil Towler set to get into the cage and earn the right to be called a Hard Knocks champion.
Five 3-minute rounds here in our amateur division. Some good snapping, and you look at Phil Towler trying for the double. Good sprawl here by Devin Smith, trying to keep the fight in a standing position. He's got the arm-in guillotine now and trying to position over to the cage. Phil Towler very much the bull, very much pushing forward, but you see his face is turning red as the pressure comes from Devin Smith, but he's not underneath that chin.
Yeah, it looks like Towler was in a worse spot just a minute ago as he tries to push Devin Smith up against the cage and take this fight to the ground, where he should have a distinct advantage by Devin Smith's own admission, and he does get it to the ground now, and Phil Towler is on top.
2 minutes and 15 seconds here for Phil Towler to work, the purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and again, this is not where Devin Smith wants to be, but again, he's a very intelligent fighter. He uses the cage well, and he's trying to get position now, and like we said, he has the ability to just pop right up. Very strong is Devin Smith, but now the back given up to Phil Towler, and this is a dangerous position for Devin Smith to be in.
Yeah, this one looks like it's deep. This could be trouble for the champion as Phil Towler looks to crank it on. He's tapped out Devin Smith. Devin Smith suffers his first loss in the Hard Knocks cage, and Phil Towler, your new light heavyweight champion.
And a big win here for Phil Towler as he was able to lock in that rear naked choke, and some obvious disappointment on the face of Devin Smith, but Phil Towler with that strength, when he got that rear naked choke, was able to do the damage, and an excellent showing here by Phil Towler, and he is your new light heavyweight champion.
And now, the Big Four Motors Hard Knocks 34 official decision. Brought to you by Big Four Motors. The winner by tap out due to rear naked choke at 1 minute and 17 seconds in the very first round. In the blue corner, Phil the Albino Rhino
Phil Towler is your new champion at 205 pounds, and after receiving his belt, he's going to have an interview with
Phil,
Ryan.
I'll get you here, center of the cage. Bet that feels pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Feels great.
Now, you come out, and looks like he catches you with a big shot early. He comes in to swarm, and from that point, it was taking him to the ground and getting it done with jiu-jitsu.
That was the whole game plan, was to get it to the ground. He's a good striker, heavy-handed, so let's go somewhere he's not so talented.
Now, we've got the fight finish here up on the replay. Why don't you walk us through the final sequence?
Well, he just gave me his back right there, and then I got the one hand in, and he didn't seem to defend it that well, so I started to choke him. I almost thought I didn't have it, and then I just readjusted, and that was it. You'll see me right here. I'm choking him right there. It's not tight. Gets my hand away, and then I changed it right there.
Now earlier in the fight, he had you in an arm-in guillotine up against the cage. From our vantage point, looked like you were turning pretty purple in there. Were you at all concerned about it?
Concerned, yeah. Worried about it, not really. It was all right. It was tight, but I got out of it.
Now, what's the first thing you're going to do as a Hard Knocks champ?
Go to Burger King. I'm hungry.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for your winner and new light heavyweight champion, Phil Towler. So Phil Towler, your new light heavyweight champ with a submission choke victory over Devin Smith. Ari, a very impressive performance from Phil Towler.
Hey, Phil Towler did a very good job. He's taken everybody he's fought down, and he either grounds and pounds them or submits them. And he's going to keep winning until someone defends a takedown. Devin Smith, it was really easy. He needed to win standing up, and he needed to defend the takedown. He defended it to begin with really good, and then he went for the guillotine and got taken down. It was a big mistake, and it cost him. These guys are both top fighters, and I can't wait to see them again.
So Phil Towler, your new light heavyweight champion.
To find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
Next up, we have a fight between Blake Sigvaldason and Ashmat Bashir. Ori, both of these guys trying to get their first win in their amateur career.
Yeah, they're both looking for their first win. They're both getting competition experience. I think it's going to be a great fight. Let's watch it.
Ashmat Bashir takes on Blake Sigvaldason next.
This school of Hard Knocks Fight is an amateur bout in the 135-pound division and is brought to you by Cruz Custom Homes. And now, let's meet the fighters.
Coming to us in the 135-pound weight class as we meet Ashmat Bashir, who comes to us making his amateur debut tonight against Blake Sigvaldason.
Well, Ashmat Bashir saw his friends fighting, and he decided at that point to start training, and he's been training for 7 to 8 months, and he considers himself a striker so far, but he knows that he has a lot of growing to do in the sport.
It's one of those things when you start fighting, a lot of guys start out with the striking and then they start to develop those other skills, and he said that those other skills are still developing and will continue to develop as he continues to train, but for the time being, striking is where he intends to have this fight. He'll certainly find a willing partner in Blake Sigvaldason.
Well, and Ashmat Bashir is another one of these guys that's been around the world. He's from Afghanistan, so he's a long way from what he considers his home, but Canada his new home now, and he's happy to be here and looking forward to putting on a good show for the fans.
Yeah, I asked him how he would deal with the butterflies of getting into the cage for the first time, because of course those butterflies, I find guys deal with it two ways. They either run out and try and throw a punch within the first 5 seconds, like we saw Nolan Shergold earlier tonight too, or they kind of that slow pace out of the center, out of the corner to get that kind of first couple steps in the cage, knowing that this is for real now. And when I talked to Ashmat earlier, he said that he expects to come out of the corner slow, and he expects to come out of the corner in a relaxed fashion, stay calm, and have fun inside the cage.
Well, and he's got some good training partners at his gym, and you can see one of them now continuing to work on. A man we've seen in this Hard Knocks cage many a times. He's put on some great shows for us. So a good pedigree coming from this gym, and Ashmat Bashir is going to show if he's ready and he's got what it takes to become an MMA fighter.
And he'll take his lap before we meet his opponent, Blake Sigvaldason.
And his opponent.
So now we meet Blake Sigvaldason coming down to the cage, 0-2, Jeremy, but figures it's a time for him to get moving, time for him to get his first win, and expects to do that here tonight.
Well, I was talking to Sigvaldason earlier today, and he said he's grown up a ton since we've seen him last time in the cage, and he is only 20 years old, and he looks more a man now. When we saw him the very first time, very much still looked like a spring chicken, I guess is the best way to do it. He looked very young. and now stepping into the cage, looks a little bit older, a little bit thicker in the shoulders, and he feels that growth in strength is going to help him in this fight.
Yeah, when I talked to him about the difference between this camp and the last time we saw him, he said it was mentally. He felt a lot more prepared, and he feels like he's more prepared to be an MMA fighter now. He can realize, yeah, you know what, I wasn't mature enough to get in the cage mentally before, and it cost him 2 losses. If the guy goes pro right away, then those 2 losses count forever. And as we take a look at our tail of the tape, not much separating these two, just a 1-inch height advantage, which is pretty negligible.
Yeah, not much that you're going to see here in the difference between these two guys. And but you look at Blake Sigvaldason does have that advantage of cage experience, and what he said is he needs to be calmer in the cage, slow it down, let the moves come to him, but still be able to control his aggression and come forward when he needs to. It's all about energy management for Sigvaldason, and as he steps in the cage right now, eyeing down his opponent, very unlike Blake Sigvaldason, Mike, but
Yes.
we're excited to see this fight, our third of the night here at Hard Knocks 34.
Now for our official introductions, we'll throw it inside the cage to Jaden Nance.
And now, the official Hard Knocks Fighter introductions. In the blue corner for Build 360, it's his amateur debut. He's 19 years old and stands 5 feet, 7 inches tall. He weighed in at 134 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of Progressive Fighting Academy from Lethbridge. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Ahmed Bashir. And in the red corner for Pete the Plumber, the superhero of plumbing. He's 0-2 as an amateur, 20 years old, and stands 5 feet, 8 inches tall. He weighed in at 135 pounds, fighting out of the dungeon from Terrace, BC. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Blake Snorri Sigvaldason. This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Andy Social.
Andy Social, our referee, as Blake Sigvaldason and Ahmed Bashir get set to get into the cage. Bashir making his amateur debut. Sigvaldason still looking for that first win. Jeremy said his first 2 losses were by submission, and if his opponent thinks he can take him to the ground today, he'll get a big surprise. So obviously working on his ground game, Blake Sigvaldason.
Well, in Sigvaldason, a big noticeable difference is the size of his legs. If you look, his legs are extremely muscular compared to the last time we saw him in the cage, and his striking looks much improved.
Yeah, it looks like he's moving a little better. Bashir a little wobbly after that leg kick.
Good one back there from Bashir.
Yeah, Sigvaldason doesn't look like the same fighter, Jeremy. You're right. I barely recognized him yesterday at the weigh-ins and in the cage now. I'm still having a hard time putting him together with the fighter that we've seen before.
Well, we've seen a couple of fighter transformations over the years here at the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship. The most noticeable one is Chad Anheliger, who we'll see later tonight. First time we saw him, he was, by his own admission, a little bit soft, and now he kills people.
Back to the action, a nice left there and a nice front kick from Bashir, knocking Sigvaldason back, and Bashir now kind of taking the pace, Jeremy, and moving forward.
He's landing those front kicks, and he's landing them to the thigh on top of the knee of Blake Sigvaldason. So a little unorthodox kicks there. They're front kicks, but they're landing to the front of the leg as opposed to the chest or a standard leg kick. Big swings here by both these fighters. And Sigvaldason, a big nod, saying, all right, let's go now.
Yeah, Bashir a little wild with the fists. They're coming from a little bit outside, more of a haymaker than that precise strike that you see as fighters gain more experience.
One is you'll hear in his corner that they will try and time those big, long, outside punches, those wild punches, and try and counter them with a nice quick jab to the center. And some unorthodox kicking here from Bashir. He's coming from all different angles, and a nice big shot met with a nice nod again from Blake Sigvaldason.
Yeah, the jab gets through there, and like you said, Sigvaldason just shaking his head. Yeah, you got me, and coming back for more.
And you can see the patience from Sigvaldason. It's a long fight. He's not pushing the action. He's staying very, very calm and patient. This is a good example, and a nice big punch there, just barely connected, and did a little bit of damage, I would say.
Now, you mentioned the patience of Sigvaldason. What we see from a lot of fighters and what we hear from them is the adrenaline dump that happens in your first fight. You get so worked up just for the walk down to the cage that you almost see your adrenaline fall out of your system there after the first round. And as fighters gain more experience like Sigvaldason does, you realize it is a 9-minute fight and you have to get through that entire 9 minutes, and there's no need to finish it in the first round.
We're down to our last couple seconds here, and you'll see some trying to push the fight and push this first round in their favor. And I'd have to say the first round of this fight going to go to Bashir, in my opinion, just because of those unorthodox kicks that are landing to the front leg of Blake Sigvaldason. Some decent shots there. One thing I want you to watch out for in the next round is you look at the target that Sigvaldason is throwing with his punches. He's not aiming for the head, he's aiming for the neck and chin region. Because when you see guys try and slip, that's when you're going to catch them on the face. So it's a good technique that you're going to see a lot of the top fighters. They aim for the neck, so when that head drops, they can do. We look at our featureproductions.ca replay here, and I think we saw just the after effects of one of those front kicks. And here's another nice quick jab to Sigvaldason. Sigvaldason enjoyed that one, or at least it looked like he did.
Yeah, again, gives him the nod and comes back for more. Both fighters in their corners and getting their instructions from the coaches. And Sigvaldason coming to us out of Terrace, BC in the dungeon, and PFA Lethbridge for Ashmat Bashir. And both of them solid clubs that have provided us with a couple fighters in the past.
Well, and again, we got these 90-second breaks here, and Sigvaldason looks very calm in his corner, and I think his corner telling him, hey, we got to work on stopping that front kick, which is the thing that he had the real difficulty with. And nice calm breathing over in the corner of Ashmat Bashir, trying to bring that heart rate down. That's going to slow the buildup of lactic acid and help with that energy system.
Now heading into round two, as Andy Social sees that the doors closed and the fighters ready, back underway. They touch gloves. And again, Bashir coming forward in more of a traditional boxer stance there, Jeremy. Both hands high and tight.
Yeah, and very, very, there's no square there, so not much wrestling here, but a nice teak to the chest of Sigvaldason, pushing him back. Excellent technique there, and a big swing from Sigvaldason, who had a facial expression like, you're lucky you ducked that one.
Sigvaldason now in the center of the cage, but it's been Bashir in more of the chase position here, really setting the pace. Now big right hand comes in, and again Sigvaldason with the smile, and now they're both throwing in another big right hand, lands from Ashmat Bashir.
I think that one hurt Sigvaldason a lot more than it looked like there with that shot. The eyes went a little bit to the side before that customary smile for the hit. Good punch to the chest there. That's what we're talking about, targeting. Not targeting the head, because the head's easy to miss, but targeting that chest right below the neck.
Bashir again pushing forward, Jeremy, really kind of setting the pace for this fight, which is really for a rookie, very impressive. Stepping into the cage with just 8 months experience and is really kind of setting the pace and controlling the fight so far.
Yeah, an excellent job, and there's a nice stiff jab from Sigvaldason. That's what he's going to want to land for this fight. That's a good kick in return from Bashir, but Sigvaldason is going to want to land that jab because it got in nice and clean. A big wide swing from both these guys. Bashir's landing, Sigvaldason's not.
And Sigvaldason, now you can see, Jeremy, well, you could see just a moment ago on that front leg, he's got quite a big welt on the outside of the leg from those kicks. And the feet of Bashir doing very effective offense for him here. And you can see it as he's coming around. There's a big welt on that front thigh.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you could take away that power base for your shot, that's where you're going to be able to control the fight. And we've seen leg kicks, like another good one there. We've seen leg kicks end a fight. I remember the famous Uriah Faber purple leg where his coaches are carrying back to the corner. Nice punch there landed by Sigvaldason, and it stunned Bashir. I think caught him a little bit off balance, but again, those time shot by Sigvaldason is what he needs to do to be able to be competitive in this fight.
Now Sigvaldason tries to come forward, didn't quite have the measurement right on that one. Just shy of hitting his opponent. And I think that those leg kicks are really taking effect because you can see the pace is different for Sigvaldason. He's really kind of not putting the weight on that front leg that he was earlier in the fight.
And he's trying to end it with one big swing at this point and a head kick. And that is not part of the rules.
Yeah.
And he's going to go, and we talked about that, kicks and knees to the head are not allowed at any time. And so they're going to make sure that he's okay. Now the referee at this point has a choice, and the choice is three things. The first one is he can give a soft warning, which is a verbal warning. The second one is a 1-point deduction, which is the more common of the three. And the third one is actually a 2-point deduction if the referee thinks that it is done with malice, intent.
With intent to injure.
Right. So I don't know what's going to happen here. It may look like a soft warning. And Sigvaldason gets 5 minutes to recover, and I think there's about 2 seconds left in the round. But Sigvaldason can take as much time as he would like. He says he's ready, and good on Andy Social just making sure that he's in good shape. We're going to see a very short end to this round here.
The timekeeper watching the referee's instruction. And there it is. Just enough time to come out and touch gloves. Again, likely not an intentional blow, but Jeremy, you got to think with a kick that high in amateur, it may not be something he wants to risk in the future because it doesn't take much for that to slip up into the head. And I'm not sure you're going to get much effective offense from a big kick to the shoulder.
No, and kick, it's just a situation that you don't need, and you're exactly right. As we look at our featureproductions.ca replay, this is going to be of that big head kick, and I don't know that he said when Andy Social went over that I didn't mean to. It looked pretty.
But it's not like he could have kicked him anywhere else there. That kick was aimed for the head, and that's one of those things again where training may overtake the rules in your mind. Your training is, I see an opening for a head kick, I'm supposed to head kick. And so it may be that the training overcomes the fight brain, as it were, and the instinct is to go for the head kick.
Well, and in that, with that head kick, that's something that, instinct or not, you have to know the rules. You can equate that to any other sport. Hockey tells me that I'm not allowed to cross-check a guy to the throat, but if I see an opening, it doesn't mean I'm allowed to take it.
So in other words, don't play hockey against Jeremy.
No.
Both Ashmat Bashir and Blake Sigvaldason getting last-second instructions from their coaches. Just 10 seconds now before round number 3 will start here between Blake Sigvaldason and Ashmat Bashir. Sigvaldason in the black shorts, the white Muay Thai trunks for Ashmat Bashir as we head out for round number 3 between these two young fighters.
I skate terribly anyway. Good knees to start off the fight. A nice punch landed by Bashir. But I think Blake Sigvaldason's corner told him, let's turn this into a fight now. You've got 3 minutes left. You're down 2 rounds. Turn this into a fight and get in there. And good start. But again, those kicks, good range by Ashmat Bashir and keeping Sigvaldason there. I think that one looked a lot better than it actually was. I think it just caught Sigvaldason ducking.
Yeah, it caught him at the end of dodging the punch. Not much on the follow-through, as it were, from Ashmat Bashir. But you're right, Jeremy. I think Sigvaldason has got to know he's down 2 rounds, and he's really got to be able to eat that leg kick to get in and score that punch. And so far, he hasn't been able to hit the big punch. and that one's not going to be enough, certainly. But Sigvaldsson's got to get in and finish this fight because Ashmat Bashir's got to be up 2 rounds if you look at the effectiveness of his striking.
Well, that's a good outside leg trip by Sigvaldason. Now he's on top. You got 2 minutes to go. Final round. You're down 2 rounds to 0 unless the judges see it otherwise, which has happened already tonight. But Sigvaldsson's got to make a statement here. He's either got to really, really pound the pressure or he's got to work for a submission. If he can get to side control, he can work the Kimura, he can work an armbar from the top. But this is where the Calgary amateur rules play a disadvantage to a fighter because he's not allowed to strike to the head. So it's very difficult to end this fight with the strikes in a ground position.
Yeah, it's effectively jiu-jitsu once you get down to the ground. Under the amateur rules in Calgary, and Sigvaldason trying to bust through the guard. Bashir doing a good job of staying active but staying defensive, not allowing Sigvaldason to work his ground game. A nice punch to the side, trying to soften him up. Does get Bashir to release the hold on the back of his neck, however, temporarily, but just a minute to go, and Blake Sigvaldsson's going to have to find a submission here quick if he wants to finish this fight.
He's now down over to half guard, so he's going to try and work over into the full side control, and it's kind of a question here you have to ask yourself with 1 minute to go is, am I going to be able to tap this guy out in a minute? If the answer is yes, you keep going. If the answer is no, in your own mind, you have to let him up and go where you can do extra damage in a standing position. The trouble is Ashmat Bashir has had the distinct advantage when they're standing.
Sigvaldason now in a mounted position. He's going to need to find an arm and find it quick. 30 seconds to go in the third and final round between these two amateurs. Sigvaldason looking for the first win of his amateur career. Bashir also trying to do the same in his very first try. So far, not much doing from Sigvaldason on the top here, Jeremy. He's got to isolate and he's got to find a submission.
Especially with short time.
And again, just 10 seconds to go now in round number 3, and Sigvaldason ending the fight potentially on top, trying maybe to find an armbar there, Jeremy, but unsuccessful. And if it goes the way we think it should go, Ashmat Bashir should be your winner here.
2 rounds to 1.
With a 29-28 victory.
And now, the Big Four Motors Hard Knocks 34 official decision. Brought to you by Cruise Custom Homes. The winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner, Ashmat Bashir.
So a solid win there from Ashmat Bashir in his very first fight, Ari. A very effective striking performance from the rookie.
I thought he did a very good job striking, especially for his first fight, and he was calm, cool, and collected, which is very, very important, and I can't wait to see his next fight.
Now, we obviously saw an improvement here from Blake Sigvaldason as well, keeping improving as an amateur fighter where you're allowed to make these kind of mistakes.
Yeah, I think the whole concept of amateur, especially in Hard Knocks, is that guys are getting competition and they're getting better, and we're grooming them to go to the UFC.
So Ashmat Bashir gets a win in his very first fight against Blake Sigvaldason.
To find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
Next up, a pro fight between Dia Grant and Derek Boyle. A rematch of sorts, Ari. These two guys fought to a decision 3 years ago, and they're looking to renew hostilities here tonight.
Definitely a rematch, but I think these guys are two different fighters. I think Derek Boyle splits his time between Lee Meehan's camp, training with Jordan Meehan in Lethbridge, and Jackson's in Albuquerque, and I think he's one of the guys that's really sort of said, hey, you know, I'm going to do this full time and I'm going to try and train at the best places in the world. So we're going to see how he's improved over the last couple of years. And Dia Grant's got a lot of fights over the last couple of years. He's been training at a good club, and I think he's a totally different fighter as well. I think they're both good athletes, and I think it's going to be an all-around good fight.
Now, Ari, you've had to fight in the past and had to cut weight to get to that fighting weight. Unfortunately, Derek Boyle coming in 5 pounds over for this fight. Something that we shouldn't expect to see here in the mixed martial arts world.
Exactly. I'm a little disappointed that Boyle came in overweight. He comes from a camp that knows it's important to make weight. The UFC isn't tolerating guys not making weight anymore, and I think he needs to do a better job of that, and hopefully he will in the future.
Next up, we've got Dia Grant taking on Derek Boyle.
This School of Hard Knocks fight is a professional bout at a catch weight of 160 pounds and is brought to you by Veraperm Canada. And now, let's meet the fighters.
Coming out next in our professional bout, Derek Boyle, who comes to us out of Lethbridge and the Lee Meehan camp. And we see him coming down from the Canadian Martial Arts Center, and he gets set to take on Dia Grant.
And we've seen Derek Boyle before here in the Hard Knocks cage, and he put down Aaron Armstrong, who was at that time a very, very popular fighter here. He put him down with a shot to the liver that was an uppercut and by the side of the cage, and it dropped Aaron Armstrong down to the ground, and I've never seen anybody knocked out quite like that. And when you get hit to the liver, that's the end of the fight. And Derek Boyle, significant experience, and he has a significant power.
They have 4 wins, or 10-6, his official record. Most of his wins by knockout or TKO. On the other side, has found himself on the wrong side of 4 submissions, and says he knows he needs to get in and get working on that to keep his record going in the right direction.
We've talked about Dia Grant on many occasions that it depends on which Dia Grant shows up, and for the last couple fights it's been the Dia Grant who is very, very scary. But Derek Boyle spends his time in between New Mexico and Canadian Mixed Martial Arts Center, and when he's down in New Mexico he is at Greg Jackson's camp, so very, very good pedigree of trainers for Derek the Gargoyle Boyle.
And his opponent.
So Dia Grant now going to come down to the cage, and for this rematch that's been 3 years in the making, Dia Grant will be looking to get on the right side of the victory celebration this time, as he comes down to the cage to face off against Derek Boyle.
And Dia Grant again is a bit of a conundrum, as his coaches will say, because sometimes he is just a world beater. He comes in and he destroys guys, and then sometimes he'll come in and not be as effective in his fight. His last fight was a TKO loss in the 3rd round and a boxing match, but his last MMA fight was a win, so he's trying to expand his horizons and get as much of the much experience as possible. As we look at the tail of the tape here, 6 feet tall is Derek Boyle, so he'll carry that reach advantage in. Overweight for the 155-pound weight class, and once Dia Grant found out that Derek Boyle would be overweight, he drank a little bit of water and got himself overweight. But we took a catch weight fight at 160. You look at Dia Grant getting ready here, though. Very, very serious in his face, and normally when he's coming down to the cage in this serious mode, we're looking for the best Dia Grant we've seen in a while.
Knows that Derek Boyle has an incredible ground game and expects to have to stand and bang with Derek here, and said he's looking forward to that. He said he's been working on his combinations for this fight. It wasn't just enough to work on getting 1 or 2 good punches. He wants to put them together so that way he can keep Derek Boyle at bay. For our official introductions, we'll head inside the cage, Jaden Nance.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the blue corner for Build 360. He's 10-6 as a professional, 29 years old, and stands 6 feet tall. He weighed in at 160 pounds, fighting out of Canadian Martial Arts Center from Lethbridge. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Derek Gargoyle Boyle. And in the red corner for Pete the Plumber, the superhero of plumbing. He's 7-8 as a professional, 26 years old, and stands 5 feet, 7 inches tall. He weighed in at 157.5 pounds, fighting out of Dynamic MMA from Calgary. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Dia Puff Daddy Grant. This bout will be contested under professional rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Brian Beauchamp.
Brian Beauchamp in charge of the action as Dia Grant and Derek Boyle set to get underway here in our co-main event of the evening. Grant will come out of the red corner in the red trunks, black trunks for Derek Boyle. As he stalks his way across the cage, he had a way to wait to meet Dia Grant. Wanted to make that happen as fast as possible.
Good snap there by Dia Grant, first punch. And you can see the experience of these guys in the way that they punch. It's very quick, and it's very quick to come back to the guard. Some good landing there and a big shot there by Derek Boyle.
Yeah, nice left hand there from Boyle. Rocked Dia back a bit. Again, you can see that reach advantage coming into play as every time Dia comes in, he's eating a punch or two, and now he's backed up against the cage. Derek Boyle trying to finish this. Dia Grant scrambling underneath, trying to prevent the damage.
Well, and a big shot that hurt Dia Grant, you can tell because he came in from the shot at a little bit of a bad angle. That's a way to stop the punishment. And you see now the takedown and dominant position here by Derek Boyle as he's trying to keep Dia Grant on the ground where that speed cannot come to play.
Dia Grant covering up there as Boyle just started landing punches, Jeremy. And a very effective performance so far from Derek Boyle in using that reach advantage and landing strikes.
And he's economical with his striking. He takes the time and then he lands a series of blows over and over again and then rests again. Blows and then rests. It's very excellent combat intelligence.
Boyle now still on top. Lands a couple lefts. Grant throws up the legs like he is looking for the armbar. And you can see measuring Dia Grant as Derek Boyle trying to find that elbow, a nice knee to the rib cage. Now providing, Jeremy, you mentioned in earlier fights about taking away that power base, and you can see Boyle just stretch that back leg out to provide himself with that power base and now snapping it into the ribs of Dia Grant.
That's exactly right, Ryan. And these guys continue Derek Boyle continues to rain down shots from the top. And Dia Grant still looks stunned from that first exchange, but it could be just the continual pressure from Derek Boyle that is causing him to not necessarily be as active as he'd like.
Boyle keeping busy with the left. Every time he gets the chance, he drops another punch. Grant trying to sneak away on the cage, but unable to do so far. As Derek Boyle's putting together a very solid performance here, Jeremy.
Well, he's got two good gyms as pedigree and a big hammer fist to the ribs of Dia Grant. And Dia Grant is getting swarmed over by Derek Boyle right now. He cannot get up, but he's trying to right now. But if he's not careful, he's going to eat a pretty vicious knee from Derek Boyle. Look to have that loaded up.
Yeah, that knee to the chest again. 4 knees to the chest on Dia Grant before Grant able to get back up. And you can see the damage on his back from the cage and the inevitable bruising that'll show up there.
Well, and you look now, Dia Grant getting up, and now he has to work his advantage and trying to pummel inside. And as he does, he gets taken into the cage, and Derek Boyle will be happy to push him up against there and continue to work the striking and try and slow down the speedy Dia Grant.
Boyle trying for Grant trying for the takedown rather, and Boyle still ending up on top, and again working that left hand. Firing it at the face of Dia Grant, looking maybe to use it to set up more, but a nice elbow there, and Dia Grant's in trouble. Heard him scream in pain. He is covering up that one eye, and he's tapping. He is in some serious trouble. The elbow ended this fight as Dia Grant took one in the eye, and he is unable to continue.
And now, the official Big 4 Motors Hard Knocks 34 decision, brought to you by Veraperm Canada. The winner by physical tap out at 4 minutes and 6 seconds in the very first round. In the blue corner, Derek Gargoyle Boyle.
6 at the Canadian Martial Arts Center. He's with Ryan.
Derek, I'll get you here, center of the cage. When you finally got to fight, seemed like a good first round for you, and you end up getting the win, looked like an elbow to the eye.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little drained, not to lie, but I knew I needed to pace myself. I didn't get a full training camp in, so I just wanted to fight smart, and I knew I had him hurt. I just had to buy my time.
Now, once you got into the ground, it seemed like you were really working the left and trying to find room for that elbow to land.
Yeah, he was looking more, it seemed like on the right side, trying to set up triangles and stuff, so I knew as long as I was aware of that arm, my left one was loose to work the body and the head. It worked out.
Now, I'm sure you got coaches and sponsors to thank.
Yeah, Trevor Hardy, Jordan Main, Lee Main, all the guys at CMC, and all the boys down at Jackson's MMA and Albuquerque. It's everyone that helps me, train, get ready for the fights. Really appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for your winner, Derek Boyle. So Derek Boyle picks up the win over Dia Grant. Ari, looks like an elbow caught him just in the wrong spot, maybe in the eye, and he causes him to tap.
I thought Derek Boyle looked really good. I thought vicious body shots and good ground and pound, and I think training at Jackson's has been doing him a world of good. Can't wait to see how he goes.
So Derek Boyle picks up the win tonight over Dia Grant.
That's it for this episode of Hard Knocks Fighting TV. We want to make sure you check us out online, hardknocksfighting.com, at HK Fighting on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook at Hard Knocks Fighting. For everyone here at the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship, including Ari Tobe and myself, we want to thank you for watching.